Then, of course, we have the tardigrade. Found in marine environments all over the world, their resilience is absolutely staggering. Listen to this rapid-fire list. They survived 10 days in the unprotected vacuum of space during a 2007 mission.
When
They
you
can take
strip
temperatures.
away all that sensationalism and all those internet rumors, what you're left with is just a truly extraordinary example of evolutionary specialization. It's time to separate the fiction from the cold, hard facts. The internet fiction leans heavily into dramatic, super-exaggerated legends about where the informal Bobbit worm nickname came from, but actually getting to see that shimmering body, that's the hard part. From the surface, literally all you see are two tiny, subtle antennae.
We're talking about extreme, highly specialized biology here. First, you have these powerful jaws designed to instantly grip and process prey.
At the end of the day, this creature is an absolute evolutionary success story. It seamlessly blends into changing underwater conditions and all that chaotic nighttime reef activity.
In fact, when you really look at it, you can draw a direct line between our greatest technological advancements and their biological originals. We study the cuttlefish for military optical camouflage. We study the starfish for regenerative medicine.
Picture this. You set up a gorgeous, expensive reef tank in your living room. Everything looks perfect. But then, perfectly healthy fish just start mysteriously disappearing.
And look, if we're talking about pure invincibility, we have to talk about the microscopic tardigrade. The human lethal limit is incredibly fragile compared to this little creature.
Let's talk about invisibility. The cuttlefish has the most complete biological invisibility system we have ever documented. To put this in perspective, the absolute most advanced military optical camouflage systems available right now. Now, what's really interesting here is this number, 60%. That is the staggering amount of RNA transcripts in an octopus's nervous system. Our next energy manipulator is the tiny pistol shrimp, 8,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Let that sink in. When this shrimp snaps its claw, it creates a cavitation bubble that collapses at 8,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Speaking of outperforming human tech, the loggerhead sea turtle makes our GPS look totally primitive. These turtles complete 8,000-mile migrations, and they return to the exact beach where they were born years earlier, down to the actual meter. Okay, so human beings have 3 types of color receptors, which lets us see about 1 million colors. Not bad, right? Well, the mantis shrimp has 16.
Now, if producing sun-level heat wasn't impressive enough for you, how about shooting lightning? An electric eel can discharge a staggering 860 volts to stun its prey.
And we aren't just talking about healing a simple wound here either. Some starfish species can regenerate a completely new body from a single severed arm. They can take temperatures from 1 degree above absolute zero all the way up to 150 degrees Celsius. They shrug off 570,000 rads of radiation. Keep in mind, a human lethal dose is just 1,000. They can survive 6 times the pressure of the Mariana Trench.
When you watch this animal calmly rebuild its burrow while the nearby reef fish keep a very respectful distance, your whole perspective shifts. It's pure sensationalism. But the biological fact? This is just a relatively simple-looking marine worm, functioning exactly the way a sophisticated ambush predator should, poking out of the sand. That is it. But beneath the sediment, there is a surprisingly long, incredibly powerful segmented body totally concealed inside the burrow.
Those are hooked up to intricate sensory bristles that coordinate all that rapid movement. And then, kind of surprisingly, they have this long, iridescent, segmented body that actually shimmers with these beautiful rainbow-like colors under the light.
It proves, without a shadow of a doubt, that patience and concealment are just as effective as aggressively chasing down your next meal. And maybe the most impressive part? When the hunt is over,
We researched dolphin echolocation to improve our submarine sonar. And I bet you didn't know this one. Alessandro Volta actually credited the stacked electrocytes of electric fish as the conceptual model for his very first battery.
you search the tank, nothing. The water is fine, the rocks haven't moved. But eventually, sometimes after months or even years, a massive, hidden worm is discovered living deep inside the live rock or the substrate at the bottom.
Through a mechanism called cryptobiosis, which is basically the animal pulling its own biological plug to enter suspended animation, the tardigrade swaps out the water in its cells with a sugar called trehalose.
Achieve maybe a 70% visual match to controlled backgrounds, and it takes them several seconds to do it. The cuttlefish? It hits a 95% visual match to a completely arbitrary background in just 200 milliseconds. They're actively edited in real time. By editing the RNA that controls its ion channels, an octopus can instantly adapt its own neural hardware to freezing cold water in just a matter of hours.
This collapse produces a measurable flash of visible light lasting less than 10 nanoseconds. It's a phenomenon called sonoluminescence, literally creating light from sound. How? They use magnetite crystals in their brains and lateral line tissue to read both the inclination angle and the intensity of the Earth's magnetic field. 16. This isn't just a modest upgrade, it is a complete dimensional difference. The mantis shrimp processes color fundamentally differently, doing it directly in the eye instead of the brain.
To put that crazy number into perspective, that is over 7 times the voltage of a standard US household electrical outlet. So yeah, definitely don't try plugging your toaster into one. And they don't just blast it blindly either.
Literally, as long as a tiny fragment of the central disc is attached, that one arm will grow 4 new arms, a brand new central nervous ring, plus full vascular, reproductive, and digestive systems, and can go for decades completely dried out. All of this overwhelming resilience is made possible by a protein called D-sub that shields their DNA and a sugar called trehalose that preserves their cellular structure like glass.
You go from this unwarranted horror movie fear to a deep, genuine fascination for how it actually survives.
The big takeaway here is that we can't let the dramatic tall tales of a common nickname distract us from the genuine, scientifically plausible anatomy of the animal itself. It's no wonder scuba divers can swim right over them and notice absolutely nothing until an encounter actually happens. They are the undisputed masters of the unseen.
It's a masterclass in patience, paired with 0 to 60 acceleration. It's funny because you have this terrifying internet reputation, but up close, it's a breathtaking, visually stunning creature.
It disappears completely back beneath the sand, leaving behind an apparently empty seabed like it was never even there.
It just proves, once again, that our greatest technological leaps are often just carbon copies of nature's ancient blueprints.
This predator literally just lived its life completely unnoticed. It perfectly illustrates how evolved Eunice aphroditois is for staying off the radar. Though we do need to separate these real documented facts from the wild legends floating around online.
When they're in this state, scientific measurements confirm they can easily survive the absolute vacuum of space in low Earth orbit. They can take radiation doses 1,000 times past the human lethal threshold and withstand pressures 6 times greater than the crushing depths of the Mariana Trench floor.
So it beats our very best military tech by 25% in match quality and does it 12 times faster, entirely with biology instead of electronics. Absolutely wild. It is basically upgrading its own hardware on the fly based on environmental input, completely bypassing the fixed genetic coding that limits the rest of us.
The energy amplification this tiny little shrimp achieves at the point of collapse is so incredibly dense that physicists are actually studying it for potential applications in controlled nuclear fusion research. It acts like a flawless biological GPS, achieving pinpoint geographic accuracy without needing a single satellite in the sky, no ground stations, and 0 external power source beyond their own metabolism. It detects ultraviolet light, polarized light, and infrared light through entirely separate, dedicated systems. This creature is constantly perceiving colors that human languages literally do not even have names for.
They emit a very precisely controlled low-voltage field first just to make hidden fish involuntarily twitch. That reveals their location, and then boom, they deliver that massive 860-volt blast to completely immobilize them.
It is a total biological reset. It creates a genetically identical individual from just 1/5 of an animal.